Am I the only one that still thinks Bitcoin's looking bullish? Everywhere I seem to go online, everyone's thinking it's going way lower. Maybe that's the case, but I still think it looks kind of bullish. That's what we're going to talk about in this video, where I think it needs to flip in order to remain bullish, but it's also at the same place where we could look for a pretty decent short. Not too low though. I still don't think it's going that low. 80k, no, I can't see it. Anyway, let's look on the charts. Okay, let's go. Okay, on the daily time frame on Bitcoin, I'm just going to map out a few things which give us a hint for where we are on the lower time frame. So we have this high, which gets broken, and then this high, which gets faked out and then has caused this sell-off. And then if we look down to here, this is where the buying took place to come and break this high and then form this high ultimately. So this is a key level at about 105k. It's also an area where if we break it, the market structure changes, and then potentially we do have a bit more of a bearish move down to about 92k is where I would look. But we'll talk about that another time. On H4, we have this previous high, and then sitting on the previous high, we have continuation level, and then we also have where this decision point actually took us to break that previous high. So this is a key level as well. When we look at this continuation pattern sitting on the previous high, we can see that there is a supply zone which price is reacting to at the moment. It's where the sell-off took place to come break that high. It gets retested, and then another sell-off down into this demand zone here, this decision point. And we've had a pretty strong reaction to it at the moment. We've had, in the context of this range, where we have this supply zone as the top of the range and this demand zone at the bottom of the range, we have a couple of higher lows at the moment and a couple of higher highs, even though this one did test the supply zone. And it hasn't sold off as strongly as the previous move. So what I'll be looking for basically is a push back up into this 113, 114k level. And I'd like to see some consolidation. At that point, we can then figure out what the next move is based on the breakout. So it could break out to the upside, retest a level, and then put in a higher high, in which case I'll look for long continuations, and that will confirm bullishness for me and that this is a bottom of a swing and we can move up to the top of the next swing. That's my dream scenario. That's what I prefer. However, what we could also get is a breakdown to the downside, retest, and then another breakout to the downside, in which case I'd be looking for shorts, because it can go either way. I don't think there's a trend that you'd be fighting, whether it's bullish or bearish, and you're fading it. But in the terms of this range, we're at a range high, and if it does break down, I think we can short to about 105k. Any lower than that, and this level is also a reaction to that point here. Any lower than that, and I think we could be going to about 92k, as I said on the daily time frame. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's wait and see what happens over the course of the next few days, and if we can get some consolidation at this key level here, and then follow the breakout and see what we can get next. Okay, the daily time frame on Ethereum is looking kind of toppy, if I'm going to be honest, but we have this previous high gets broken, and then we have this point here, which is where the buying continued and made new highs. However, it's been tested, broken, and then we get another high, and it's kind of compressing down into this point now. So let's look at H4, and the volume is really low, which is not a great sign when you're looking for continuations at highs. You want to be seeing a lot more stronger price action, more higher highs, but at the moment we're seeing a series of higher lows and lower lows, and the way it's compressing doesn't look too healthy, to be quite honest, does it? So this level on this time frame, we can see, if we just tidy it up, gets broken, and then we have the previous high here and the demand zone which forms just below it, but also we have a little bit of a chain which we've spoken about on other videos down here as well. But then we can see, if we just mark the top of that level, prices dropped down to this point and then reacted really strongly. On this time frame, it looks like a retest of about 4,000 is likely to happen. However, if that gets broken, I do think we'll come down to this point about 3,800 and then potentially see a reversal down here if you're bullish. But we also have on this time frame this point here, which is where the buying took place to come and break this high and make new highs. So this is a strong level, but the way it's kind of I don't really know, bouncing ball meme where it's just kind of losing strength. I wouldn't be too keen on looking for reversals at this point on this volume. I'd like to see more volume. The only way I would be looking for longs at this point before this level gets broken is if it comes back up to this sell-off, this supply zone, and similar to what we talked about in Bitcoin, puts in some sort of consolidation and then breaks out to the upside. However, considering the way it looks, again, it may be worth just waiting for some consolidation at this point and then wait for either a breakdown, retest and breakdown, or just go short and expecting a higher low, a lower high at this point. But it's not too clear, the volume is low, there's no real direction. And again, like Bitcoin, we're stuck between a supply zone and a demand zone as our range. We're spending a lot of time at the lower part of the range, so I would expect it will probably break and then come down into this point about 4K. Or potentially lower at about 3,800, and then start to look for some high volume reactions and push back up. But it could also be the end of the market, who knows? Solana on the daily time frame looks quite nice. It is building a little bit of a channel, looking like it wants to then break up to the upside. So let's just map things out a little bit more on this time frame. So we have this big low which gets broken, and then if we follow the chain all the way back up, we have a key supply zone which we're just sitting under at the moment, and then we have another one up here, but we don't need to worry about that too much because we're not there yet. But that would be a target for any longs at about 240. And then we have a high that gets put in and then it retraces down to this low. So we have a pretty nice reaction here, which is where the buying takes place to come push us up all the way there. On H4, the picture is a little bit cleaner, but not that great because there's still quite a lot of low volume, which makes no sense the way I've just said that. So we have a series of higher highs and a series of higher lows. If we look at this high, which gets tested for this supply zone, we have a decision point down here. This is where the decision was made to come break this high and then also ultimately test that supply zone. Price comes down, bounces off of this demand zone, creates a new high, and then slowly dribbles back down into this point here, which we need to look at the hourly time frame, and is now reacting to upside. But again, the volume is relatively low. At this point, we have a range that had formed, and this was high of the range, and then this was the low of the range. And in the context of this range, we've bounced in off the top of it relatively cleanly. What I would like to see, I'm not trading it on H4. I'd be looking to trade this on the hourly. I think the picture is a little bit cleaner here. Is this high needs to get broken or some sort of consolidation here. But the way Solana likes to move is something a bit like this, from what I can tell. And we have this level here, which is where we continued from and broke these highs, ultimately pushing up to come up and test this high. So what I'd look for is a break of that 210 level just to confirm that we're going up. And then I would like to see it retrace down to this 205 level and then build some sort of reversal pattern and push up. Otherwise, what it may well do is come down and break this level, in which case we would look for some consolidation and then break down to the downside at the next key level. So probably back down to about 193, in which case we can get a short at the break of this level. So it is a key juncture. It is an interesting level. We just need to see how price builds up over the course of the day in the next couple of days, and whether we can look for longs on a break and confirmation of that, or if we look for shorts here. Tune in for the live stream tonight and we'll talk about it. So yeah, do you agree or disagree with what I've said in this video? I still think things look kind of bullish. I still think there's going to be another leg up by the end of the year. So I'm going to remain positive about things. I don't know what all the fuss is about. There's a live stream at 6:30 p.m. UK time tonight. The replay is going to be available on the channel as well. I try to make that kind of educational, but we also go over things in a little bit more depth. Otherwise, if I don't see you then, the next two videos you could watch are up here if you want more of my dulcet English tones in your life. Yeah, there you go.